If you're a filmmaker in 2025, you probably don't want to buy this lens. The chromatic aberration is terrible. The weight is pretty outrageous, and the size of the lens is massive. But this lens might still be the right thing for the right person. Hi, my name is David, and when I'm not messing around with cameras, I'm talking about cameras. One of my favorite things in the world is weird glass. This is the beginning of a series on some of my favorite weird lenses. Before I was full-time with creative video and photo, I had a day job. I worked in the field of broadcast video in the music space. During my time in broadcast video, I fell in love with the fast servo zooms, predictable focus, and handy ergonomics of broadcast series lenses. And while I loved using these lenses, I figured it wouldn't be something I'd ever be able to own. Because if you know anything about broadcast lenses, you'll know that they're very expensive. As time's gone on, these lenses have gotten cheaper, and there's a specific series of these lenses that have become laughably cost-effective. Those would be standard definition broadcast zooms. All of these lenses use a B4 mount, and the one that you're looking for is a 2/3 coverage. These lenses can really only cover Super 16. Some of them have a 2x teleconverter built into them, much like this one. This allows you to 2x teleconvert your image with the flip of a button. This will allow you to cover Super 35 sensors, though you will not be able to cover full frame. Unless you use another doubler, you can use two doublers and stack them, but that has all sorts of ghosting issues. So up to you, like totally do what you want to do as a filmmaker. That's like the whole brilliant part of all this film stuff. Here are my 6 pros of this lens and 7 cons. 1, this lens is parfocal. 2, its massive zoom range from 8 to 160 millimeters, which transitions roughly on Super 35 to like a 28-32 range to like a 400. So you got zoom, baby. You can freaking zoom indefinitely. Your number 3 benefit to this lens is in its 2x3 mode, and it's not 2x mode. It presents a really cool looking 4x3 circle crop image. This is a pro in my book because I shoot a lot of digital content for short form, and having a square format can be really fun and funky for like a feed layout or like a carousel that you swipe through. I think that's a really interesting way to tell a story, and so I love that, and that's been a big plus for me in owning one of these old lenses. Another pro for me is that these lenses are all mechanical, which means that everything that can fail on them is a mechanical failure point, which means there's just, in my opinion, a lower likelihood of it falling apart on me. It doesn't mean that these lenses are bulletproof and that you should just trust them blindly and going about and investing in them. I did that because I got such an incredibly good deal on this, but do your research. Don't just buy stuff. 5, my 5th. Oh, pain! I just wish it's so hard. Okay, we're good. The 5th thing that I love about this lens is its weight. You might not think that its weight would be a plus, but for me, the fact that it is heavy as crap is a huge plus. I love the fact that this lens is super heavy because it makes the platform of my camera more stable as a result of the weight. It's harder to make it shaky. It's harder for those micro jitters to transition through into my frames. And as for my last pro towards this lens, it would be the fact that it is B4 mount. B4 mount is extremely strong, extremely robust, and it's been around for a long time. So there's lots of options to use it in modern workflows. Now here's the thing, if you've stuck around from the beginning of the video, you'll remember I said you probably don't want to buy this lens, and here are those con reasons that I would say warrant that suggestion. This lens is not fast. It says it's a 1.7, but it lies. 1.7 is not usable. You're really going to only have a usable image from like 2.8 to 4, and then once you get past 4 and deeper, you'll find it's very nice. But this lens says it's 1.7. It lies. Don't shoot it at 1.7. It looks terrible. So there's that. As a result of it being not fast, it needs a lot of light. This lens is going to struggle in low light environments, but really succeed when you provide it with a lot of good light. Third thing this lens does that might be a bit of a con is it has horrific chromatic aberration, like so bad. It is some of the worst chromatic aberration I've ever worked with. There is workarounds, but that is something to know going into this. Now, if you're looking for a fun lens to capture memories on, the chromatic aberration can actually be kind of nice. This is my 4th con. So to understand this one though, let's picture a sensor, right? So like we'll put a sensor right here. So we have a sensor and we have a lens that only covers like the middle of that sensor. The question then becomes, how much available resolution do you have? So if you're on like an FX3, for example, and you're on a 4K full frame sensor and you're chopping into that sensor, you're going to have like 2K available. Now that's problematic for a lens like this because you're losing so much sharpness just in the fact that it's SD optics. So really your best case scenario for using this lens is going to be using it if you're going to use it on Super 35, is using it on something like a Dragon Super 35 camera or a Blackmagic Pocket 6K Super 35 camera, where you have 5, 6, or 8K available in a Super 35 format, because that's where you're going to get your best pixel to lens relationship and have the best chance of having a sharp-ish image. Again, this lens is not going to be sharp, but that resolution is important if you want to have consistently good results out of this piece of glass. Con number 5 of this lens is it's not for full frame, right? It's not. There's ways to put it on full frame, but I really can't recommend that because you have to stack doublers, which leads to ghosting. It leads to negative flaring. It leads to like all sorts of negative image byproducts that hurt your ability to tell a story. And so as a result, I would say a con for this lens is that you really shouldn't ever put it on full frame. Con number 6 would be the B4 mount. I know I said it was a plus, but it's also a con because while it's been around for forever and is super tough, it's also super expensive to get good B4 mount support for modern cameras. So just something to be aware of is that these mounts are expensive or bad. So choose your poison. I chose bad. I can dive in deeper to broadcast and what those mounts are doing, but that feels like more information than what the average person that's watching this video wants to know about. So if you're watching this video and you want to know about that, go look at my comments, then type it in that you want to know more about that, leave it in the comments, and I will circle back and I will respond. I don't want to put that resource out there if nobody wants it. You know what I mean? My number 7 con for this lens specifically is its weight. And I know I said originally that its weight was a pro, but it can also be a con because this thing is super freaking heavy. And if you don't have heavy duty rigging for something like this, it's going to incur even more of a price tag. In my use case, I've found workarounds for all of the cons that I've pointed out here. I found ways to control chromatic aberration through using DaVinci's chromatic aberration toolset. I use the lens on a Super 35 cinema camera, and I use specific rigging and accessories that are designed for working with a lens like this. At the end of all of this, I'm going to give the lens a score of 6 out of 10. It's an absolute blast to use. It's one of the most fun lenses I've shot on in a while, but it requires a lot of user knowledge. It requires patience, strength, and discipline to use this lens in a working environment. If you find a way to get into one of these systems for under $200, I highly recommend it. If you're talking about spending over $200, I'd recommend something else. Thank you so much for watching this. It's my first scripted kind of like long form style thing. I've not done this before and I'm really new to it. But I love filmmaking, I love talking about filmmaking, and I love making films with my friends. And I hope that if you're interested in broadcast lenses, that you go for it. Thank you so much for watching. If you're gonna pick up a broadcast lens, let me know in the comments which one you got, because I'd love to talk more about it. And if you like this kind of content from me, if you would do me a favor and like it, maybe leave a comment about what you liked about it, and subscribe, because we're gonna be coming out with tons more of these videos. And the next one that we're gonna be doing is about a set of zoom lenses that cover 20mm to 105mm, and they cover full frame. So really cool stuff in the works, and I'm really excited to keep sharing. And if you guys want to follow along, you know where the subscribe button is, hit the bell, do the things, and I really appreciate your time today. I'm gonna go do some crash zooms in the woods. So yeah, if you've watched this far, you've seen those, and I hope you liked them. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and peace.